Hello there, soulmates, and welcome to Candid Conversations TV show with DocV. I'm Dr. Virginia LeBlanc-Shazad, the Pivot Maestro and heart surgeon for your soul, here to lead you to freedom, peace, and joy in life and business. At Defining Paths International, you are our why, and our motivation, and we put on and provide these platforms for you. It's all about you and helping you think without the boxes, right? Lifting you into that possibility mindset that everything is possible. All things are possible. And my guest today is going to help you see that and hopefully pivot and start living in that mindset if you're not already doing so that you can serve, profit, and sustain in life and business. Again, we're here to help you navigate those waters and put you back in business so that we can rise together through truth, transparency, and love. So, Candid Conversations is where we engage in real talk with our Define Your Path podcast guest spotlights about real experiences, personal journeys, and their intersection in life and business. So truth, real talk is the norm without exception to help you heal, rebuild, and transform from the inside out. So all are welcome to the show. We love having you join us and commenting. So be sure to blow up those comments. You never know what you're going to get here, but we guarantee it will always be love, light, and life for your soul. So we are bringing back Define Your Path podcast guest spotlight, Beth Krause. Beth, welcome back and welcome to Candid Conversations TV show.
Thank you so much, Dr. V, for having me. I am so thrilled to be back again. So thanks.
Yes, yes. And I know this conversation is going to be life-giving and fire, and we're just going to follow our flow, girl. So, audience, if you've not listened to her podcast, not right now, but after, go watch the podcast and then come back and rewatch this. So make sure you do that. And let me refresh your memory a little bit about who Beth is and what she does so that you can just be prepared for how this conversation just might flow. So she is a certified functional health and nutrition practitioner, bloodwork specialist, and author who helps people uncover the hidden clues in their health so they can hear and heal from the inside out, right? Hear and heal. We're going to talk about that hear part. That struck me. Oh, I don't know. That just fell into my spirit, Beth. So put a pin in that one.
All right.
As the founder of Grace Anatomy, Functional Health and Nutrition, Beth blends functional medicine, herbal wisdom, and faith-based principles to guide clients toward vibrant and sustainable wellness. A cancer conqueror warrior herself, Beth knows what it's like to feel fine, right? Fine, but not well. Her personal journey through chronic pain, fatigue, and misdiagnoses fuels her passion to teach others how to read their body's signals, interpret their labs, and make confident, faith-aligned health decisions. Through her book, Taking Out the Trash, a faith-filled journey to clear the clutter, cleanse the body, and claim your temple. Claim it, folks. And her educational talks, Beth empowers others to find healing, hope, and harmony in God's design for health. So, Beth, girl, I want to talk about all that and then some. And apparently that fell into my spirit. So let's just pick up and follow our flow, girl, because clearly it's trying to flow without me. So
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
Yeah, so let's just start off by talking about how you've risen from the ashes. So many of us have burnout, right? And then some of us burn down just the whole system so that we can rise from the ashes. But what's in your spirit to talk about that whole rising from the ashes story?
First of all, I love that rose from the ashes, right?
Yeah.
I rose from the ashes because I refused to let my hardest seasons in life define who I am.
Yes, so good.
And I can speak into that because being diagnosed with cancer at 29 and having four littles at the time, my youngest being 2, and tongue twisted myself today. I never allowed myself to sit in the survivor mode. I allowed myself to become a conqueror and a warrior.
I love it.
And actually just never even considered the word cancer as part of who I am, my identity
Yeah.
at all. After I went through
Mm.
it, I just went through it and thought I was done.
Yeah.
Until just a year ago
Yeah. Oh,
when
wow. Yeah.
and
Uh-huh.
so even my kids, I just really don't remember that time as
Yeah.
being a hard season of life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we have been through several struggles. I went through 15 years of side effects from the chemotherapy and different
Mm.
biopsies and surgeries and things that they found because of not feeling well, right?
Right, right. Mm-hmm.
Um, and during all of that time, I just still never let it define who I was. Instead, it
Mm-hmm.
made me curious about finding better solutions. And that is how
Yes.
I got to where I am now.
I love it. I
So
love
I
it.
rose by seeking truth instead of just settling for tradition, right? By
Mm, I
asking
love it.
why instead of accepting that that's just how it is. And
Right.
I ask my clients to ask those same questions so
Mm.
that I can partner with them through faith
Yeah.
by in this functional medicine realm and
Yeah.
looking at their whole story and refusing to disconnect with the spiritual
Mm.
healing that God has already, designed
Yeah.
us with.
Yeah. Oh, girl, so good. There's so much there. I definitely want to talk about, the five pillars that we kind of started talking about on the podcast and faith and spirituality being a part of that. But I want to go back. Something struck me earlier when you said you refuse to own cancer. And I
Yeah.
don't know if you said those exact words, but that's just how it just came out. So
Yes.
so,
Yes.
and I think that's so important, and I imagine, I don't put words in your mouth, but I imagine your faith played a big part in that. Also just finding your willpower, help you find your strength to say no, to just speak it and come against that, and really just speak life. And I know in the podcast also you mentioned you didn't start sharing your story, and I think you just said it also until about a year ago, and and that brought up a thought for me too about just how sometimes when we're ready to speak, then we'll know, right? And it's just being hearing. Maybe that's where that hearing word came from. Hearing, being open to the spirit speaking to you, telling you, okay, now it's time, right? Because sometimes when we start sharing too early, and I'm a witness to this about several times when I was on stage, and literally, just like having to fight tears back or what have you, because it was still raw. You know,
Mm.
so, girl, I know that was a lot. So I don't know where you want to enter into, just kind of sitting with it, but not owning it. Oh, that was good. How about that?
Yeah, sitting with it and not owning it.
Yeah.
You know, early on, I did speak at like Relay for Life and
Hmm.
about breast cancer awareness during
Yeah.
Breast Cancer Awareness Month for when I was invited to speak during those first couple of years, right after
Hmm. Hmm.
I went through all the traditional treatments.
Hmm.
But then after that, I quit because I'm like, this isn't me. That I don't identify as a cancer survivor, right?
Mm. Yeah.
Um, and if I can be very vulnerable here for a moment,
Please. Yes.
um, you know, when you go through treatments and at the end of all of them, you get to ring that bell.
Hmm. Hmm.
Have you seen or heard that?
I've had family members. Yes. Hmm.
Okay. That's very freeing to a
Hmm.
lot of people. It
Yeah.
means you're done, right?
Yeah.
You've
Yeah.
conquered it, you're a survivor.
Right.
I hated it.
Wow. Uh-huh.
I hated it. I didn't want to ring that bell. I
Hmm.
didn't I didn't know why until
Mm.
this year.
Mm. Do tell. Uh-huh.
Yeah, the Holy Spirit revealed because I'm writing a book with another
Yeah.
colleague now. Now that the
Okay.
Lord said,
Yeah.
it was revealed to me, I do need to tell my story
Yeah. Yeah.
because I am charged with holding space for grace for others
Hmm.
that have walked this journey and
Yes.
may be stuck in survival mode versus
Hmm.
conqueror and warrior
Oh, I
mode.
love it. Yeah. Yeah.
So I am sharing with another colleague that is also a cancer survivor.
Hmm.
We chose two very different paths in our healing process, and
Hmm.
we're co-authoring a book that will drop
Okay.
next year in 2026.
Okay.
We're more than halfway done with it.
Awesome. Yeah.
Um, in my journey, I rung that bell and I never could figure out why I hated it.
Mm.
And this year, the Holy Spirit revealed why. And it was because I didn't feel I had earned the right to ring it.
Wow.
I hadn't suffered enough. When I
Mm.
saw others, I walked through the last couple weeks of my very dear friend's life as her in-home
Yeah.
support, and she lost her life to breast cancer.
Mm.
And
Mm.
I didn't feel I had suffered enough or earned the right to ring that bell, even
Mm.
though my story is still my story,
Yeah.
and I still had cancer, but I
Hmm.
am a conqueror of it.
Mm.
And
Hmm.
so, for anybody that has rung that bell,
Hmm.
I'm here to sit in that story with you.
Mm. Wow. That is so powerful, right? So it was that pain was still very real there because you felt like the story wasn't complete. The journey wasn't complete, would you say? And
Um, not that it wasn't complete because I certainly had gone through all of it.
yeah, yeah.
I just didn't feel like I
Was it a worth?
I wasn't worthy of that bell because there
Yes.
were so many that had
Had
still
lost.
struggled or lost their
Yes.
life
Yes.
or went through so much more than I felt like I did. And
Yes.
so I was never a survivor,
Mm. Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And even though I did very much struggle. In fact, there was one point in time that I was
Yeah.
in bed for several weeks, so sick I
Hmm.
could not get out.
Yes.
So it's not, and not that you should have to going through cancer,
Yeah.
because Christ carries us through that. And I had total peace through my whole entire journey.
Yes.
So holding that space for grace and
Mm.
feeling like I was carried, held, and brought through those exact
Yes.
ashes. You
Yes.
know, I that bell was not a symbol of completion or finish
Yes.
or redemption to me. It was
Yeah.
of I I, I didn't appreciate
Yeah.
ringing that bell. Like it was not a
Yeah.
symbol of conquering for me.
Yes.
So that was a real truth and finality for me to realize that that was the end of my healing journey this year, I found out.
Wow. Yes, I could see just having that answer because I'm sure there were just all kinds of feelings and emotions, having to do that, right? And then you're living with this trying to figure out why. So you didn't even have a clue. You just had all of these emotions and what have you swirling around for that entire year until, it's kind of like you were walking through life. Was it in a mindless way? Were you seeking an answer, or did it just kind of happen? Mm.
It just happened during this writing
Mm.
process. I never
Yeah.
thought about, after that, that was
Yeah.
just kind of stuffed suppression.
Ah,
And
yes.
and maybe that is why I never spoke about it,
Yeah.
spoke about my journey, my cancer journey,
Mm-hmm.
until this was brought up and we were through the writing process and I was writing
Yeah.
about it and all of a sudden it was kind of like that light bulb moment, that aha
Yeah.
moment,
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
where the Holy Spirit kind of slaps you upside the head and goes, "Hello, you need to let
Right.
that go."
Totally right.
Yeah.
I remember when I was writing my first book, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm writing for the masses, like imparting lessons and it's the
Yeah.
writing. I was like, no, I'm downloading into you, I'm healing you,
For
right? And I'm
me,
purging
right.
you, right? So you can release. And yes, it's for them too, but it was more about you and a healing that needed to take place. Because, I think sometimes, particularly for us who maybe we've always been like overachievers or type A's or what have you, or we're just used to being strong, having
Mhm.
life well, I don't know if I guess humble is the word really, or when we're made lower, right? And just having to um having to be more vulnerable, right? And so the society conditioning tells us when we're vulnerable, right, we're weak. But that's where I feel like God can work with us so much more, right? Because it's the surrender. I think we talk about that? We might have talked about that a little bit in the podcast, or but just it's the surrendering, right? When we realize that we have to, turn to our creator, turn to God, turn to, to find that strength to rebuild, right? It's like almost like he's cutting things away out of us. He's molding us and shaping us and taking us through those trials and fires and what have you. Um, yeah, it's just I'm going back through my own multiple health stories, thinking about this,
Yeah.
and just kind of like how when I came out, it was just kind of like I won't say business as usual, but just it was very mindless kind of for me, like going through the
Yeah.
motions. And and it wasn't until I had an experience like maybe about 3, 4 months later or what have you, where like literally my steps started to be ordered for me to start seeking, and finding my purpose. That I kind of had these revelations and like literally, like you said, spirit just spoke to me. Like I'm writing and just start bawling in the middle of writing,
Yes.
and yeah, it's I think sometimes we have to, well, for me, it was like a hardness, maybe even a toughness to, okay, well, this is just one more challenge, but I'm gonna get over it. I have faith in all of that, but it was a journey that I had to walk through for just to, I guess, make me more sensitive to the spirit also, and yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
I
just having
think
all
this
these
is
thoughts.
where, yeah,
Hmm.
I think this is where we need to look at, and this is why I wrote the book that
Yeah.
is coming out now next week, right? Take out the
Right. Hmm.
trash. Yeah.
Hmm.
So this
Yeah, yeah,
ties in well with that because
yeah.
when this was being revealed to me, a lot of times we want to disconnect our spiritual healing from our physical healing.
Yes. Yeah.
And so we do all the physical things, right?
Hmm.
But then we forget about the emotional and the spiritual.
Hmm.
And so that is what my book, Take Out the Trash, is about.
Hmm.
It's looking
Hmm.
at the 5 foundational pillars of health.
Okay.
And by looking at those 5 foundational pillars, yeah, we're looking at all of the physical type of things,
Yeah.
but it doesn't stop there. So we're looking at your faith and relationships, of course.
Hmm.
That's paramount. We're
Right.
looking at nutrition and hydration.
Hmm.
We're looking at your detox pathways and the toxins
Hmm.
in your environment and within your body.
Yes.
We're looking at movement and like I said in the podcast too, not pounding the gym or being a marathon runner, but just things that bring you joy. It can be gardening,
Yes.
horseback riding. I play
Hmm.
glow stick dance parties with my grandkids, you
I love
know.
it. Yeah, yeah.
And then rest and
Yes.
sleep. And rest and sleep are not the same. And
Yeah.
then what is your resilience like when you do go through stressful? How do you rebound from that when you go through
Yeah.
stressful situations?
Hmm.
Those pillars, if we could get those balanced
Hmm.
and bring those in alignment,
Yeah.
70% of people would
Yeah.
be 90% better.
I can see that.
And then the
Yeah.
rest of what's left over, that 30%,
Mm-hmm.
that's when we get into those disease processes that could be matrixed out. And then we can get really down to work with the
Yeah.
disease type processes that really need more honing, more helping.
Right.
But it goes deeper. My book goes deeper than that. It
Yeah.
looks at all of the other baggage we're carrying. What
Mm.
about years of generational guilt or shame
Yes.
or
Yes.
anger?
Yes.
Um, what about, fractured relationships, abuse,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
things we were never meant to carry?
Right.
All of that, we go through that, and that can be laid down at the foot of the cross
Yeah.
because it was already carried for us.
Right. Yes. So
So,
good.
yeah,
Yes. Oh, it's like we forget, and I love how you integrate faith into what you do because it helps you remember, right? And it helps you, it wakens the soul, right? And that's where our connection to the divine literally
mhm,
is, and like you said, all like this life causes us to carry so much, right? And then, other people's choices affect, you know, different circumstances or what have you in our life. And so, it's not enough that that is fact, but then when you have just these generational things and these diseases that come upon you, potentially as a result or stress in our life because we're trying to carry these crosses that weren't meant for us, you
right,
know, and we don't realize how just a simple realization like that can change everything, can
right,
just make you lighter, when you let those burdens fall, you cast those burdens, um
right.
yeah, yeah.
Well, we don't, a lot of people don't understand that the weight they're carrying emotionally and spiritually, that they're
Mm-hmm.
not letting go,
Yes,
manifests physically.
yes, yes, yes.
And I can give a realization. I had a
Mm-hmm.
colleague call me that was just wanting, another set of eyes on what was going on with
Yeah.
her. And she said, "Can I run something by you? I just want to know if I'm going the right direction with this."
Mm-hmm.
And she was giving me, a list of what was happening in her life,
Mm-hmm.
and I know nothing about what she does other than we're, colleagues in another group,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So I know nothing about her background.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Well, I am feeling, I've got, this heaviness on my heart." I said, "I think
Mm-hmm.
you've got some emotional,
Mm-hmm.
um, an emotional block that you need to let
Mm-hmm.
go
Mm-hmm.
and that you haven't dealt with." I said, "I don't know exactly where it is, but I think, that's what some of these health
Yeah.
issues that you have going on are happening."
Yes.
And she said, "Whoa, whoa, wait a minute. I think I deal with all of that quite well. Do you know
Yeah.
what I do for a living?" And I
Uh-huh.
said, "I don't." She goes, "I'm a therapist."
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Well, your body doesn't care what
Right.
you are."
So good. Exactly.
I said, "But that's where your
I
block
love it.
is."
Yeah.
And I said, "Wait a minute." I said, "When did the physical symptoms start?"
Mm-hmm.
Because they were quite substantial. And she said,
Yeah.
"This at this timeline." And
Mm-hmm.
I said, "And you said you just got done telling me that things started happening at the exact same time."
Mm-hmm.
I said, "It's emotional."
Yeah.
And she goes, "Mind blown. You
Yeah.
just blew my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Why, as a therapist, did I not come to this realization?" And I said,
Mm.
"Because you're too close to it."
Yes. Yes. And you spend more time analyzing and relying on the mind or your expertise or what have you that,
Yes.
yeah, oh, that's, yeah, it's so good.
Everybody needs someone to advocate and sit in their
Absolutely.
story with them.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. When I think about, just a lot of times you hear people share, oh, the family, kind of the party line in the family is, keep whatever's going on with you or the family in-house, right? In the family. Or there's this kind of negative view, right? Or even connotation ascribed to people who go to therapists or who seek help in any way, right? Or, so it's so important for people to realize that you can't you can try to diagnose yourself, right, but
Right.
also just having that spiritual connection also, where the spirit can speak to you, and you realize there's something not right, there's something wrong in my body, and then you know leaning into or reaching out to other people when you have these issues. There's nothing wrong with that. Literally we were meant to be and live and come into community, and
Yes.
so yeah, no, I love that example because it happens all the time, particularly with
Yeah.
psychologists. So I'm not saying anything, but
Right. Yeah.
I have friends who are psychologists
Oh.
and counselors. Yes, yeah,
Yes.
so fascinating. People don't process that it could be that health issues are tied to emotional. But stress, my husband and I, when we first met, and he spent some time working, I think, working with NHS and doing some private investigations with a contract company or something. But anyway, he was sharing with me that stress is that kind of number one thing that goes undiagnosed, right? That we don't ascribe, or the medical profession doesn't really look at or ascribe or diagnose people with, right? That this is the
Right.
the source of your health issue, or whatever's going on. And but that's stress is tied to emotion, our emotional health and wellness, and like literally it becomes like a self-manifesting thing within us. And if we can self-manifest things also, through our faith, what have you, we can also manifest healing, in our bodies as well, and then utilizing those things, that those natural things, that God has literally given us, populated the earth with, to help us in our healing. So I love how, can you talk a little bit, share a little bit more about just that whole integration, because some people may be sitting who are listening to this, and to our conversation, and thinking, oh, well, how does this fit? Or oh, I don't really believe that that's possible. When we talk about integrate, or how our emotions are tied to like just manifesting certain conditions in our bodies. When you incorporate like health, faith, right, and healthy relationships and what have you, those things naturally help to lessen the stress, right? And then the
Yes.
manifesting of conditions in our bodies. But when we are faithless, or when we are just, literally, just kind of going through this life in unhealthy relationships and unhealthy workspaces, and, all of these things, it's like we're attracting all the negative, I guess the negative polarities, or things in the universe, that we end up manifesting these
The disease
disease in our
processes.
body. I was about to say the
Right.
disease processes in our bodies. Yeah.
Right. Well, first of all, because we're not balancing our nervous system. So we can look at it from a
Mm.
couple of different ways,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Okay.
We can look at it from a spiritual lens,
Yes.
and we can look at it from a scientific lens,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So when you bring both of them together and in balance, it's powerful. When you
Yes.
leave one or the other out, you're
Out.
still
Yes.
imbalanced.
Yes.
So I personally don't understand how people go through life without having both.
Both. Yes.
because this life is a struggle
Hmm.
regardless. It's not an
Right.
easy life to live. We were not
Right.
guaranteed an easy life regardless.
Right.
So I don't understand why someone wouldn't want to walk a
Hmm.
life with at least faith. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Totally. Uh-huh.
it balances your nervous system, and it's physiologically and tested. Johns Hopkins University and Cleveland Clinic,
Hmm.
they have uh, papers written
Hmm.
about
Hmm.
people that have faith, practices of
Yes.
faith. They
Yes.
have research documents
Yeah.
showing that prayer, meditation, calm the nervous system. They have
Hmm.
research papers written on it.
Hmm.
So when you do have that, it brings your nervous system into a more relaxed state, a more balanced
Yeah.
state. So it is
Yes.
researched. So that's scientific.
Yes. Right. Right.
Um, when we're looking at your lab work from a functional lens, we
Hmm.
can see the inflammation even from a stressed state.
Mm.
And sometimes when we're hitting a wall with
Yes.
protocols and um, different types of nutrition and people are wanting to, they think
Hmm.
they can go work out more and do,
Yeah.
eat better, or do this and that, take this out of their
Yeah.
diet. See, they're still puffy or they're still, and really what they're
Yes.
doing is they're adding more physical stress and fatigue in their body. And
Mm.
really, they need
Interesting.
to slow down and
Yeah.
they need to hear
Yeah.
without their ears
Yes.
what their body is saying so that it can heal.
Yes. We got there.
There, I knew we would.
We, yes. Yes. We
Because you
got
do
there
not need ears to listen
to hear.
to what your
Right.
body is saying.
Yes. Yes. Our soul speaks to us through the spirit. We just have
Yeah.
to listen, to be sensitive to it, right? And
Yes.
then become conscious of it, right?
Yes.
And not fear it through faith, you know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And your body is speaking to you 24 hours a day. You just have
Yes.
to pick up on the cues. And I'm
Yes.
not saying that you shouldn't ever go, seek additional help. No,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
why we have people that are gifted in functional health or even
Right.
traditional medicine. And I'm not
Yeah.
knocking traditional medicine. It's there when you
Hmm.
need it.
Yes.
The healthcare system is fractured right now. They
Yes, it is.
are they are built on a sick care model right now.
Mm-hmm.
They're treating symptoms and disease. They are
Mm.
not a wellness industry right now.
So good. Yeah.
So it was never intended for people to go there for every little thing. It was intended for emergent care. And now
Mm.
it's flipped. It's
Yes.
flipped, and people are going for everything.
Everything.
And that's not
So
the way it was
interesting.
intended.
Right, right. So, so good and enlightening. I mean, I'm having some ahas over here. Girl, thank you for pulling that out of me because, I was trying to make the connection and what you said about faith, spirituality, and science. It coexists. We have to have it,
Yes.
and we have such, some people have such polarizing views, like you have to be over here and you can't be over here in science and, in faith. But literally it's all, I mean, literally God gave us the inspiration, the knowledge, the know-how to, connect the dots and like have a visual of the spiritual, of yeah. So no, I love that. That's exactly where I was trying to get to, and the hearing part that dropped into my spirit for a reason.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah. Well, we
Yes,
breathe. Every time we breathe his name. So how can
yes,
he not be in our physiology? How can he not be
yes,
in everything that we are
yes,
physically? I mean,
yes,
that's how we were knit together. I
absolutely.
mean, you
It's
know,
the breath of
so
life, literally.
yeah, literally, and blood is the life force
Yes,
that he gave us. So,
yeah.
and if you've ever looked at blood through a microscope, which I
Yeah.
have
Yes.
hundreds of times, thousands
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
times, it is so fascinating to see the cells and
Yes.
how they fight off disease. And
Mm. Hmm.
um, yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing.
When you just you think about just the bodily functions, the processes, and even that base, blood and how all of that interacts. I mean, how can you think there's not a higher power?
Oh, yeah,
I mean, you could literally go down the rabbit hole of, okay, well then who created that or how does this happen? And you keep having to ask, and
yeah,
yeah. So, I think when you have that when you come to that realization and you embrace the divine God as that higher power, the creator, you also realize that we are co-creators, right? Women literally bring life to earth, and it's all a part of a greater human design and purpose. And when we start realizing, and stepping outside of all of these constructs that keep us so divided, and not being able to see clearly, right? Or even understand and see our own self-worth, right? And that we are
mhm,
worthy because of the ultimate sacrifice. It's when we start connecting all those dots and we just, we surrender and we start to remember, right? And we start to find ourselves when you look inside. It's amazing. Just thinking how we wake up every morning and breathe the breath of life, like you said. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Well, and
And
so
look.
many people think that surrender and submission are negative.
Yes, we talked about this briefly, I think, in one of our
Yes,
conversations. Yes, let's go there. Okay, all right. I feel
yes,
it flowing now.
yes.
Yes, please
And
talk about that.
submission is not negative.
Mm-mm.
Submission is order. It's coming under through love.
Yes,
It's coming under in this beautiful, beautiful laid out under the wings of protection.
yes,
It it's being held. It's
yes,
not being a doormat. It's
yes.
not being walked all over.
Right.
It's in being under and in submission is a
Yeah.
beautiful place to be.
Yes,
It's knowing that you're in this state of peace
yes,
because of submission, not
yes.
because you're being ruled over or kept
Right.
under somebody's thumb, but
Mm-hmm.
because you're being protected and loved
Yes. Yes.
and guided.
Yes. Girl, you better speak. I was just about to say that's the purest demonstration of the love of God, and how we're protected and covered and sheltered, and I love that because it's everything is in partnership. It's togetherness,
That's
right? We have
it.
we have
Partnership. Yes.
partnership, and for a long time life had just beat me down so much in various different ways or what have you, and particularly in unsuccessful relationships and what have you, that one, I stopped believing in soulmates, or even stopped believing in that we were meant for partnership, right? And it was the pain of those experiences. And then literally, when God brought my husband, and just, I mean, girl, that's a whole nother. I don't. Yeah, I mean, that man, he's about as close to God as I've ever seen or experienced. But just that love and understanding and having a soulmate and a partnership, right? He doesn't make me feel less than, right? He
No.
allows me to be, right, to be who I am, God made me for. And I allow him to be, and what have you. And coming together, we're that enhancement and that strength,
Yes.
that it's not sucking life, but giving life to each other, right?
Yes.
Making each other better. And I think about, even scripture just about iron sharpening iron. You can see that also in a partnership, not hardness to, where I mean in conflict or what have you, but it's just it's a whole nother level of just approving of and understanding that faith and how we were created,
Hmm.
man and woman to be in harmony.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
It's, mhm.
definitely.
Yeah.
Hmm. And that harmony in creation, not just only with man and woman,
Hmm.
but think about the Garden of Eden.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, we are outside of it now because of,
Yeah.
the sin nature.
Hmm.
However, I think about what are we not seeing that's inside that when we have all of this nature, and I do herbals too. I have an
Yes. Yes.
apothecary here.
I'm glad we got there.
And
Yes. Uh-huh.
and I'm like, and nutrition for our
Yes.
bodies. And when
Yes.
you have a different relationship with food, and
Hmm.
it's for nourishment,
Right.
you can enjoy it because you're not attached to it. Okay, so you look
Mm.
at nutrition for
Yes.
your nourishment instead of, and then it tastes better when you're
Yes.
viewing it that way, right?
Hmm.
But then I look at the herbs and the flowers, and I look at them differently now. I look at them,
Yes.
how do they serve my body?
Yes.
What can I use them for? In fact, this morning I was looking
Hmm.
at, oh, I want to put that and that and that together as a digestive bitter tincture. Okay, I'm going to
Yeah.
make that later today.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yes.
it's like dandelion roots and fennel seeds and anise, and
Yeah.
looking
Yes.
at all of these cool things that God has
Yes.
still allowed us
Yeah.
to use, and yet they still bring joy because they serve us and then we
Yes.
tend them.
Yes. And and it's just understanding and
It's
seeing that awareness and
gorgeous.
beauty, yes, of creation, that literally everything that we need, literally exists on the earth, right? And then, of course, man, and just our need
Right,
to tinker or to
right.
compartmentalize or segment or just whatever, hoard, quite honestly,
Right.
we started to just kind of poison that proverbial well, and we stopped seeing with those eyes, just those pure eyes, or having that vision or that understanding, and then literally fear just started, ruling the world and operating, just controlling our day-to-day operations in every aspect. But
Hmm.
when you return to that, like, so I shared with you that I had kind of the past 3, 4 years, I've just been walking through my own health and wellness journey, my husband and I together. And the literally at the beginning of this year, we had that kind of that revelation and aha, and returning back to more natural thing. Now, my mother-in-law, she cooks with all kinds of star anise, all that good stuff, right? So I'm definitely eating more healthy. But, we forget about these things that are these herbs, they're natural.
Yeah.
They grow right under our nose. But because we're so programmed and conditioned to think, okay, this is the way you get healthy, or this is the medicine you need for XYZ, as opposed to even opening our minds up to the possibility, kind of going back to, just our thought and theme about just seeing and being open to all the possibilities in life and in the world. And literally just returning to more of that focus on health and wellness, and from the natural sense, has made all the difference. And it's in the
Hmm.
mind, the body, and the soul, right?
Yes.
So yeah.
Yes, definitely. And going back to my book, the Take
Hmm.
Out the Trash That's Gonna Drop,
Yes.
um, that in there I have a whole chapter on just basic recipes that don't overwhelm people.
Okay.
They don't have any crazy ingredients. They're
Yeah.
easy, fast recipes. I
Oh, I
had
love it.
somebody pilot them,
Yes.
and she was here, and she's from out of state, and she was
Uh-huh.
here in my home this last week, and she said, "Your recipes have made my life so much easier."
Wow.
And she
Mm.
says they're simple, they're easy. She says your lentil stew is so one of my favorites.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I mean they're easy to search. They're online. They're not,
Yeah.
just my recipes. They're easy to
Yes.
find. but they're all in one place.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
they're in one chapter in one book. You can go to the store and you can find all the ingredients.
Yeah.
And they're in
Yeah.
the same book about
Hmm.
how to get rid of, let's get all of these pillars balanced. Let's get your
Yes.
trash. Let's go to the grocery store. Easy, simple, fast recipes. Here's some
Yeah.
herbal recipes if you want to try out some herbal teas. Get back to the
Yeah.
basics.
Yeah, I love it. Cleansing the body, claiming your temple. We get so busy in life, trying to march to the beat of, just worldly expectations and demands, that we tend to forget that we are literally divine beings. Like we have a soul that's directly connected, that needs nourishment, that needs care. And, when you were talking about the five pillars earlier, just the rest, and rest not just being sleep, but people need to understand that you just need to take some rest. So many people are just constantly busy, going, going, going. I was one of those people, like
Mhm.
rest, what is that? If I'm resting, I'm not being productive and all of that. My husband says all the time, rest
Right.
is productive, you know,
Yes.
and it's
Hmm.
so important and it can make all the difference, you know?
Yes. Yeah, we grew up, and I don't know about you, but we
Yeah.
grew up on a farm. And
Uh-huh.
if we weren't busy, we were lazy.
Mm-hmm.
That's a
That was the messaging.
generational, yes, it's a
Yes.
generational bondage that needs to be broke.
Girl, speak. It does. It really
Yes.
does. And it even continues, right? To
Yes.
this day. And like, even if, and everybody wants easy also, you know, uh,
Yes.
easy. Now, easy and staying busy that you run yourself into the ground, that's
There needs to be a balance.
there a balance. Exactly.
Hmm.
Yeah, and we're supposed to just embrace, right? Embrace, our ability to work, right? To, operate in our purpose, our callings, or what have you. And like you said earlier, this world isn't supposed to be easy. Everything isn't meant to be easy, but at the same time, it's not meant to be, particularly when you're operating in your calling, your purpose. I feel like it's the healthy easy, for lack of a better
Yeah.
term, because I'm struggling to get to a word.
You and me both.
Girl.
We're in good company then.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
when you're operating in the
When
way.
you're operating in the way that you know is what you're supposed to be doing, it's not
Yes.
necessarily easy, but it's
Hmm.
gratifying.
Yes. It just flows.
It
It
flows.
it
Yes.
flows naturally.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's like you don't feel guilty when you do take rest, right? Because you know that you are making a difference, you're having an impact, right? And just that self-care is so important, but we don't teach that. We don't promote that. It's starting more and more now, but particularly, in the Western, we don't, well, I guess Western and Eastern, quite frankly, but the Eastern tends to focus more on the holistic health and wellness or what have you, as opposed to, Western mindsets, I would say. But it's so important. We serve from these empty cups, and we need to, when it's empty, right, we need to refill them so that they can overflow and and it's just this constant cycle, but a healthy one. And we tend to be in unhealthy cycles, like just constantly in these cycles of insanity, chasing
Yes.
titles, chasing, positions, chasing all of these worldly things, when if we just chased our faith, our spirituality and understanding and ability to be and our self-worth, right? Our self-love.
Yeah.
If we chase those things,
Yeah.
can you imagine just, what the byproducts would be?
Well,
As opposed,
it would be poured out in abundance.
yes, that.
Everything would be poured out in abundance. Our time
Yeah.
would be poured out in abundance. Our
Yes.
relationships would be poured out in abundance.
Mm-hmm.
Our cash flow would be poured
Yeah.
out in abundance.
Yes.
Our time spent with Christ would be poured out in abundance.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we're always trying to claim everything for ourselves,
Yes.
including our time. So
Mm-hmm.
then we feel strapped for
Yeah.
time.
Yes. Oh, so good. Girl, look, you need to repeat that. I need somebody who's watching this. Drop that in comments.
We're
Can you say
trying to
that again?
claim our time,
Mm-hmm.
and therefore we feel strapped for time.
Yes. Yes. And we're always commiserating with ourselves, with others about, oh, there's not enough time. And girl, and I'm guilty of that. God forgive me. you know,
Yep.
but yeah, and that's why, but I do that less now that I'm learning to just be
Yes.
present. Right? Just
Yes.
being present, learning how to just be, trusting that truly everything does work together for good,
Yeah.
that, I am enough, right? I don't have to, you know, be the dog and pony show, right? I don't have to
Yeah.
perform, stepping out of that whole, moving from performance to presence. I'm actually writing a chapter for a book right now, on that. And it's everything when you understand that you don't have to perform, right? Who are you
Right.
performing for, right?
And that I talk about that in the healthcare,
Hmm.
because we need to learn instead of rushing our clients or our patients through the process, we
Yes.
need to allow that
Yeah.
space for grace, like we talked
Yes.
about before, and to be
Yeah.
able to sit in their story with them.
Yeah.
Because if we rush them through, all we are doing is cherry picking at the symptoms. We're
So,
not hearing their underlying story. And if I
yeah.
may, can I give you an example of this?
Please, please. Hmm.
I had somebody come and they were telling me about their pants, right?
Hmm.
An odd thing you would think to talk about pants, about needing
Hmm.
more pants.
Yes.
This was an elderly person
Uh-huh.
talking about that they were always needing more pants.
Uh-huh.
And what they were actually saying is
Hmm.
that they were incontinent, but they
Mm.
wanted to maintain their dignity. So instead
Yes.
of talking about their incontinence, they were talking about how quickly they were running through their pants, so they needed
Yes.
more pants. It was
Yes.
never about the pants.
Yes.
It was their way of telling me that they
Hmm.
needed help with incontinence.
Right.
But if I were to rush them through their story
Hmm.
and go, what do your pants to do with this today?
Hmm.
They would have lost the dignity that they
Right.
were trying so hard. That thread of dignity that they wanted to hold on to
Yeah.
would have been lost.
Yeah.
So sit
Wow.
in the story,
Sitting in the story.
sit in the story
Yeah.
to find out what the root cause is,
Yeah.
whether it be in healthcare or whether
Yeah.
it be in your spiritual connection
Yeah.
or whether it be in an emotion.
Hmm.
Find out how it's connected
Yes. You
and
know,
hold that space for grace for that.
absolutely. I love that. I love that. Girl, I just can't wait till that book drops for you guys next year also, besides the one that you have coming out
Yeah.
now. But just, when you start building that community and just, well, you're already holding space for folks, but I feel like that's gonna be a whole nother level. I feel that in my soul for you, of just that work, right? That good work that was started that is like literally arriving for such a time as this, where there's so many people who are, having these difficulties and don't know where to turn and really need people who will give them that grace. That's how my husband and I operate in our business. It's all about giving people space for grace, operating, with godly principles and, and just being truthful and transparent and doing so with love. Because I'm thinking about, as you were sharing that, I was thinking just about the appointments when we were walking through, like literally being at the doctor practically every day of the week, and getting so
Yeah.
frustrated because, first of all, you're waiting forever. And then you have these windows and you're expecting to be able to share your story and what's going on. And then it's like a rush in or rush out, or, someone coming in, a technician or whatever coming in before. And it's such, when you go to a place and you think, you're hoping for healing, and you don't get that, you just get more stress and frustration, and you have more questions than you do answers. you know that's where also I feel like the faith, the spirituality comes in, because also it can help you maintain your peace, right? Because when you start losing that, and it's a struggle to have, just keep your joy, all of that stuff just compounds. But being able to hold space, is so important. And no matter what field, particularly in health, but in whatever we do, that's why, quite honestly, my husband and I have such an aversion to business as usual. Like, it's like we don't do, yeah. So, and that's why, we're building, the movement out that we are with, Defining Paths International, that returns us back to community and God's philosophies and principles and serving each other and these sorts of things. What you're doing, you're serving people, right? You're not being transactional like these appointments, okay, thank you, God. I feel like I'm flowing now. Like these
Yes.
appointments, right? That literally just like you're in queue and just rush you in, rush you out, and you're serving the soul, right? You're allowing their soul to speak, and it's healthy for their minds, and even that, their bodily response, because then their emotions aren't all over the place, and so it's all part and parcel, and people don't realize that all of this is connected, right? There's an
Right.
aspect of all three of these in everything, and when we don't address it, when we're not cognizant of it, how we go through life, how we operate, this is the struggle, this is the diseased processes, this is the PTSDs and the just all the cycles of insanity. Those are the byproducts. It's not about these man-made
Right.
constructs and just money, 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 and titles, 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 and all of this stuff. When we wake up from that and realize we can't take any of that stuff with us when it's time to go.
Exactly. Exactly.
The only thing that's going is the soul.
Yes. Well,
you know
and I want to
Mhm.
just touch back. You said,
Yeah,
this piece
yeah,
that you were feeling out of control with the
yeah,
loss of peace. I
yeah.
just want to remind everybody that peace, true peace, is
Yes,
actually a state of being.
yes.
And you can maintain
Mm-hmm,
true peace. You can
mm-hmm,
have all these other feelings
mm-hmm,
that come and go,
mm-hmm,
joy, happiness, fear, anger, all these resentment, all of these other things are
mm-hmm,
feelings.
mm-hmm,
And still, even with all of these other things, you
mm-hmm.
can still maintain this true state, this
Yes.
true state of peace in the chaos, because God is
Mm-hmm.
not the author of
Mm-mm.
any of these other
Yes.
chaotic feelings.
Yes.
He is the author of true joy and true peace.
Yes.
And Paul
Yes.
writes about that in the New Testament.
Mm-hmm.
He, in all things, in
Yes.
all
All
things, in
things.
all circumstances, give
Yes.
joy.
Yes.
And he says that because it is a true state of being. And I
Yes.
think physiologically,
Mm-hmm.
if your nervous system is also in balance,
Mm-hmm.
your state of being is in balance.
Yes. Girl, absolutely 100,000%. 100%. Okay. I know my calculations or my percentages. Totally. No, I could not agree more. It's a state of being,
Yeah.
and I would honestly have to say I have not known peace until this year, when my husband and I literally stepped out in obedience, right? And And we
Yes.
started our traveling business ministry, and only we don't even like referring to ourselves as a business, but a movement, right? And and the peace, like literally, I now know what peace that transcends all understanding means, what it
Yes.
feels like, right? Everything is not perfect, right? People think, oh, things have to be perfect and you need, billions of dollars or whatever for that. No, no, most of those people don't have peace, you know,
Yeah.
and so it's a state of being that you get to by surrendering, by being obedient, and then it's nothing like it, right? You
Yeah.
realize that you lay all of that stuff, like you said earlier, literally at the feet of the cross, right? That's what that
Yes.
was about. And you walk out what your soul feels led to to do, right? As
Yeah.
far as serving your purpose. And when you find that and you follow it and you just like flow in that and you have that assurance, then like literally all things in trust and faith. I mean, I'll leave that to God, and
Right.
I truly believe that I can do all things through Christ, right?
Yeah.
And that strength comes every day when I tap into and lean into that faith, right? And I don't have to understand everything, right? I don't, everything is not perfect, but just operating in that peace, in that faith, in that trust is everything.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, I think about Jesus and that true state of peace. Even he slept through
Yeah.
the storm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In his human form, he slept through
Mm-hmm.
the storm.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. Oh, I
I
love that.
think, oh, let's let's be peaceful through the storms, right? And I
Yes.
think
Oh my
that's what
goodness.
going all the way back to the beginning of our conversation, I really
Yeah.
feel that that's what got me through all of my storms,
Yes.
is that true
Yes.
state of peace.
True state of peace. Wow. Wow. So good. Oh my gosh. Beth, girl, this has been a profound conversation. Girl, thank you for having this candid conversation with me and
Yeah.
and just joining me again. Like girl, my mind is I'm sitting with so many parts of this. And it's interesting because you think when you're having conversation that like there has to be constant back and forth or what have you, but like when something is so deep and meaningful and there's so many parts and and you're really like just sitting with it all, like your humanity and your divinity and putting it all together, girl, this has been life. This has
Mm.
really been life. Yeah, so I
Oh,
want to make sure that you feel complete. Any closing words or thoughts or anything you want to share?
I just want people to walk away from this broadcast to feel seen, feel
Yes.
heard, feel validated, and know that they are not walking alone.
So good.
That no matter if they are somewhere that they are alone, they are never alone. They are seen, they are heard, they
Yeah.
are precious, they are worth it,
Yes.
and they are worth being seen, and they have
Yeah.
space for grace and to
Yes.
reach out if they need somebody to walk alongside
Please.
with them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You are not alone. I love
Mm-mm.
it. And seek people who will give people space for grace, and then you can accept space for grace. Yes. I love it. I love it. Audience, drop your thoughts, drop your feelings, show Beth love. Whatever your ahas, perspective shifts, we love to see that in comments, because we want to know that we are bringing life-giving conversations, that something touched your mind, your soul, you had a bodily reaction. It's so important. So I want you guys to reach out to follow Beth Krause on social media, check our show notes, get connected, reach out to her. She's brilliant. She has a beautiful soul, a heart for humanity, and just so many gifts, and her callings where she can really help you live that healthy, fulfilled life so that you can walk out your possibility story. So Don't forget to like and share this episode. Subscribe to our channel right here on YouTube at Defining Paths Online, and set those notifications so you don't miss any of these powerful, life-affirming, pivoting conversations. So you want to make sure you get those reminders. Faithful, we want to leave you with this, right? It's the truth will set you free. You heard Beth. You heard Beth say she had that feeling when she went to ring that bell, right? And it wasn't, and her feelings were perfectly legitimate. They were her feelings, and she felt them, right? Because that was the truth of who she was and where she was at that point in time. I want you to know, I'm feeling in my soul, honor what you feel, right? Listen to the spirit, tap into that soul speak. And it's okay. You don't live by any other standard, not these worldly standards, but let the spirit lead and guide you, right? And the call to action is to think without the boxes, think without these worldly boxes, right? Tap into your divinity, tap into creation, right? What God gave you, what creation, you are literally meant to be a co-creator, right? So unplug from those unhealthy programming, conditioning, and just those things that are snuffing out your soul. You know it, you feel it, right? You're walking through health issues, wellness issues. It's the soul trying to breathe, trying to tell you, right? You can break free. So as you've heard me share before, just worldly conditioning demands, it had me mindless, spiraling, unable to remove those masks that I was wearing, right? False sense of protection, in a state of denial and unable to heal because I was hiding from my truths. I was trying to live according to these worldly principles. How did I break free? I had that candid conversation with my soul and finally chose me. I leaned into my faith and I was able to overcome, to conquer, right? And as Beth said, become a warrior. And that's when I was able to pivot, heal, rebuild, and pursue my soul's purpose. And it has meant everything. Faith was my foundation. As you heard Beth said, that's the most important of the 5 pillars of health and wellness. So lean into it, find it, seek it, discover it, embrace it, and face the fear, because you can't be the captain of your fate and master of your soul. Lean into your faith. So, question, what is that candid conversation trying to erupt in your soul? Is it time to pivot? Is it time to reach out? Is it time to define your own path? Right? We're here for you. We're here to help you build your success on a firm foundation, mind, body, soul, and business. So reach out to Beth. Reach out to us at Defining Paths. We have your back. It's all truth, transparency, and love with us. So once again, I'm DocV, the Pivot Maestro for your mind, body, soul, and business. Again, like, share, subscribe, and set those notifications. And always be true to you and define your own path. And we'll see you here on our next episode. Thanks again so much, Beth. It's been a blast.
Thank
Such a
you so
blessing.
much. I loved it.